Is it hard when you spend your whole life doing the first few albums and then suddenly everybody needs your attention, you have to do interviews, you have to travel around, and suddenly is it hard to come up with ideas?
I don't know. I've just noticed that people expect more of a thematic angle with our music. You know, they always want to read into it. And before, I was just using pieces of poetry and just garbage. You know, just stuff that just would spew out of me at the time. And a lot of times when I write lyrics, it's just at the last second because I'm really lazy. So, and then I find myself having to come up with explanations for it. You know, so I thought I'd prevent that this time and actually have an explanation for some of the songs at least.
There's a lot of baby references in all the songs. I didn't think there would be, but you have like wounds, baby's breath, baby throw up, baby
throw up.
There's baby everywhere. This is obviously has become a huge part of your life.
It has been a part of my life before Courtney was even pregnant, though. I've always been just fascinated with medical texts and charts, and I guess I secretly want to be a doctor or something. I don't know, or a person that works in a cremation factory. I don't know. I've always liked anatomy. Ever since I was a little kid. When I first got that little model of the Invisible Man, or the Visible Man, it's just something I really like. And since I've become a big rock star and made a bunch of money, I found this place in the Mall of America in Minneapolis that sells nothing but medical stuff. It's a medical supply store that they've offered to the public. It's really great. I bought all these fetuses and anatomy men and charts and stuff, and it was like a dream come true. Because I've always been really poor, and if I could find something like that in a second-hand store, I'd barely have enough money to buy it. And a lot of times I couldn't buy that stuff, so I just went on this rampage of buying all this stuff. And I think I've overused it, for like pictures for the album, and I don't know. I just went overboard on it.
The old saying that you can't buy happiness. You think that's true?
Well, yeah, you can't buy happiness. I mean, that made me happy for a little while. But, I mean, I was just probably almost just as happy with, I don't know. I look back on going to secondhand stores and stuff like that and finding a little treasure like that. And that actually meant more to me because it was more of a stab in the dark in a way, because you didn't know if you're going to be able to afford it, and you don't know what you're really looking for, and when you find it, it's more special to you rather than having $1,000 and going into a store like that and just buying the whole store. It's not as special.
Because you've achieved so much success, so quickly, so surprisingly, you've had a baby, you're married. What excites you now?
My baby and my marriage. I don't know. I still like playing, too. I mean, Chris and Dave and I haven't changed at all. I mean, believe it or not, we get along just as well as we ever did. We're just as the same passive-aggressive people as we used to be. We never fight. And when we're pissed off at each other, we just hold it under our breath and have respect for one another in that way. It's easier to work that way, because we have a mission, I guess.
How do you personally cope with having relationships, private relationships that are always being scrutinized publicly? It must be really difficult.
Well, it is, but I mean, I still have a lot of the same friends that I used to have, so they don't seem to mind, and that isn't ever really exposed too much. No one writes about how me and my friend Dylan walked down the street and did whatever, but
yeah, but they rip apart you and Courtney. They love to do that.
Yeah, I don't know why, but we're just I don't know. I guess like my ego could be talking right now, and I could say, well, we're interesting people, but I think we're just easy scapegoats. It's just, it started with something, and then, people just pick up on it and carry it along, and we turn into cartoon characters. And there's nothing I can do about it, really. You know, I can threaten to sue and, you know, try to you know, bring up libel laws and stuff like that to people that write shit like that about us. But, you know, if you've ever looked into that, it's pretty much a lost cause. You have to have a lot of money to do that. And, you know, I could spend the money that I earned last year all on fighting the Vanity Fair piece, you know, and they'd end up winning because they have more money, you know. So
there's a magazine in Canada that incorporates itself for each issue, and then it goes bankrupt on each issue so that it could write whatever it wants and no one could ever sue them.
Wow, that's a pretty smart thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
That kind of reminds me of how a lot of stations in the States got a hold of our new album, but it was like someone had anonymously sent them like 5th generation cassette copies of our new album, and in order for them to play it, they started on the weekend at 5 o'clock, like on Friday nights. That way they could play it throughout the rest of the weekend without having the council, you know, sue them. And that's kind of smart, you know.
It's free publicity for you anyway. Ultimately, the album's going to come out.
That's true, but the thing is that there's been so much controversy about how bad the record sounds, you know, and how lo-fi it is. And to hear it like that compared to all the other songs that were on the radio that night, it really disgusted me, and it pissed me off because it sounded terrible. It sounded really, really bad. And then everyone that heard it that weekend is going to say, yeah, you're right. Okay, the stories are true. The Nirvana album really sucks, and I'm not going to buy it, you know, so it just kind of bothered me. But we took care of it.
What'd you do?
Well, I thought maybe we should hire a lawyer to stop them to do it, and then instead I just decided to hire a hitman.
Pardon me?
Nothing. Erase that. No, we just called them up on Monday and told them to stop.
And they went, oh, okay.
Well, our lawyer did that.
Isn't that a weird world for you to suddenly have lawyers and like people who do stuff like that for you?
Yeah. It's totally unnecessary too. If we weren't in this position, we wouldn't need lawyers, you know. It's total unnecessary, and we have to spend a lot of money just to protect ourselves all the time, and it's just stupid.
When did that first hit you? When did you realize that you're going to need some people on your team to protect you from the vultures?
Too late. You know, much after the fact, after we'd already been damaged to a point where it, you know, almost doesn't do any good, you know. But, I don't know, it was just a weird realization one day, you know. Wow, I have to, you know, and I can see how, like, rock and roll stars will all of a sudden, will almost compromise their music to make sure that they sell the same amount of records next year because they've spent all their money on lawyers and protecting themselves last year, you know. But, I mean, we obviously haven't done that. I mean, I don't know, maybe you might not have noticed, but the record isn't as commercial as the last one, so we could never bring ourselves to do that, you know. I'd rather just laugh about it. And
I was talking to Amy Mann, Girl from Till Tuesday. She was at our office just a couple days ago. She's on tour with the Kinks, and Ray Davies was in the office also. He came in before her, and I had mentioned to her that he was very nice but really eccentric when I was talking to him, kind of nutty. And she said, well, you know, there's a lot of people who have been around the record business for those many years, and most of them are kind of nutty. It just, you know, it makes people nutty. I mean, you're facing that. That's your future.
Yeah, that's my future. Hopefully we'll put out Metal Machine music next year, you know. I don't know. Either I've accepted it or I've gone beyond insane to where I can deal with it emotionally. I really don't care. I know that I'm too stubborn to allow myself to ever compromise their music or, you know, get so wrapped up in it and involved to where it's going to, you know, turn us into big rock stars. I mean, I just don't feel like that. Everyone else accuses us of it, but, you know, we're not as popular as everyone thinks, or we're not as rich as everyone thinks, you know. It's just we've always had a good sense of humor. I don't think that's been translated very well.